Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NTD Tonight. I'm David Zhang. Here are some of today's top stories. House Speaker Mike Johnson visits Columbia University amidst ongoing protests. He's now calling on the university president to resign. California lawmakers want to make it easier for Arizonians to access abortion. This is in response to Arizona's recent abortion ban. A proposed California bill wants to restrict Clear from expanding at California airports. Find out why. First up, President Biden today signed into law the $95 billion foreign aid package that the Senate passed late last night. Here's Biden commenting on the package.
It's going to make America safer, it's going to make the world safer, and it continues America's leadership in the world, and everyone knows it. Gives vital support to America's partners so they can defend themselves against threats to their sovereignty and to the lives and freedom of their citizens. And it's an investment in our own security, because when our allies are stronger, and I want to make this point again and again, when our allies are stronger, we are stronger.
The bills include $61 billion in aid to Ukraine, $26 billion for Israel, as well as $8 billion to Taiwan and other allies in the Indo-Pacific. There is also $1 billion in humanitarian aid to Gaza, and Biden also signed a separate TikTok bill tied to the foreign aid package. It gives China-based ByteDance 270 days to divest TikTok's U.S. assets or face a ban. Biden has pressed the lawmakers for 6 months to approve more funding for Ukraine. He said the flow of weapons to Ukraine would start in a matter of few hours. Pro-Palestinian protests continue at the major American universities, prompting school officials to take extraordinary steps to confront the growing crisis. Columbia University, facing an 8th day of tense demonstrations, said it has extended negotiations with student activists over the dismantling of the pro-Palestinian encampment. The university announced today it will extend its hybrid model through final exams. House Speaker Mike Johnson met with the Jewish students at Columbia University today and said he will call on the university's president to resign. President Biden will also be in New York City Friday, but White House and campaign officials said there have been no internal discussions about him visiting Columbia University. Some demonstrators say the Biden administration is complicit in the deaths of many thousands of civilians in Gaza. Protests have spread throughout the country, including a large pro-Palestinian protest at UT Austin in Texas and UC Berkeley in California. Results are in from yesterday's primary election in Pennsylvania. President Biden got 93% of Democrat votes, while former President Trump got over 83% of the Republican votes. And former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, who dropped out of the race in March, got over 16% of the Republican votes. This indicates that some Republicans are looking for an alternative to Trump, but it's unclear how many of the Haley supporters will eventually switch to vote for Trump in November. Likewise, Muslim American voters mounted an abandoned Biden campaign to protest the president's handling of the Israel-Hamas war. The organization Uncommitted PA said it was aiming for 40,000 uncommitted votes. Pennsylvania did not offer an uncommitted option on its ballot. It's currently unclear how many write-in votes were part of the movement. Biden faced similar efforts in battleground states like Michigan, Arizona, Wisconsin, and North Carolina. Biden and Trump clinched their respective party nominations in March, but both have campaigned heavily in Pennsylvania, a swing state that was crucial in both 2016 and 2020.
Okay, I voted for Donald J. Trump, and I voted for him the last time. Was very, very disappointed because he did an excellent job, and I would vote for him again and again.
I think it's an important election. I think they all are. I think this one in particular, we've got to keep Trump out. I wish we had two different candidates to choose from, but the ones that we have are what we have, and I'm happy to vote for Biden.
Pennsylvania is politically divided and has a sizable 19 electoral votes up for grabs, making it a premier battleground state in the upcoming November presidential election. The Supreme Court is considering today when doctors can provide abortions during medical emergencies in states with abortion bans. The Idaho Attorney General says the Biden administration is trying to create a federal right to abortion.
Biden administration sued Idaho in an attempt to undermine our rights and our state's choice to preserve life. The Biden administration is lawlessly manipulating the Emergency Medical Treatment and Active Labor Act to override the will of the people of Idaho.
Pro-choice and pro-life supporters clashed in front of the Supreme Court as justices weighed Idaho's abortion ban. Idaho is one of 14 states that now ban abortion at all stages of pregnancy with limited exceptions. The Biden administration argued that the federal law allows hospitals to terminate pregnancies in emergencies where a patient's life is at serious risk, including in states where abortion is banned. Idaho says its ban already has exceptions for life-saving abortions. The state argues expanding these exceptions would turn hospitals into abortion centers. According to Idaho, the administration is misusing a health care law that's meant to ensure patients aren't turned away based on their ability to pay. California lawmakers introduced a law that would make it easier for women in Arizona to travel to the Golden State to get an abortion. The bill is in a response to Arizona's recent ban on nearly all abortions. NTD's Jason Blair reports.
Lawmakers said SB 233, or the urgency bill, grants Arizona doctors the ability to perform abortions on Arizona women in California.
So to the Arizona people of childbearing age and those who love and support them, we have your back.
A goal to dominate and control women's bodies, lives, and futures.
The bill was authored by Senator Nancy Skinner. It's a response to an Arizona Supreme Court ruling on April 9th that revived an 1864 law making abortion illegal except when the mother's life is in danger.
It's obvious that the real objective is to return women to second-class status.
We're trying to get ahead of this law, which goes into effect on June 8th.
On Wednesday, the Arizona House approved a repeal of the revived 1864 law and sent the measure to be heard by the state Senate. If approved, the 1864 law would be overturned, and the state's 15-week abortion restriction would remain in place. Jason Blair, NTD News.
A California bill aimed at Clear passed its initial legislative stage, but with the modifications. Clear is a company that lets travelers pay to skip some parts of the airport's security lines. NTD's Christina Corona has more on the story.
This bill, SB 1372, is the first of its kind in the U.S., as it targets companies like Clear that offer expedited security screening for a fee.
And SB 1372, which would ensure equal access and equitable treatment for users of California's commercial airports by requiring third-party expedited screening services such as Clear to adjust their current operating model and offer a dedicated screening lane in order to operate at California airports.
Newman argues that Clear unfairly allows wealthier individuals to skip ahead of other passengers who are waiting in line for TSA screening. Clear charges members $189 annually to confirm passengers' identities at airports and guide them through security.
The difference being that those not using Clear are understandably annoyed about being shunted aside by those who do use Clear. This bill seeks to do, on behalf of all the airport travelers who are continually inconvenienced or annoyed by this service, is to create sufficient motivation across Clear and its 9 current California airport partners to simply re-engineer their traffic flows to separate Clear subscribers from other non-Clear travelers.
The bill is supported by the Association of Flight Attendants and the union representing transportation security officers in Oakland, Sacramento, and San Jose.
Clear doesn't add any enhanced layer of security to airport operations. SB 1372 would restore equal access and treatment at airport security checkpoints by requiring companies like Clear to operate in a dedicated security lane separate from the general travelers and TSA pre-check members.
However, several people opposed the bill.
The airports in the state do not control the checkpoint. That is controlled by the TSA. And so the desire that there be a dedicated TSA officer to handle those that are Clear customers is not something that the state of California can compel the TSA to do. But at the end of the day, what this bill will do is cut off revenue for the 9 airports that have Clear today.
The proposal, approved by the State Senate Transportation Committee with an 8-4 vote, now limits Clear from expanding to new airports. Previously, the intention was to prohibit the company and other third-party airport security screening vendors from operating until they had their own dedicated security lane. Clear operates in more than 55 airports nationwide, including at Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Jose, and San Diego international airports, and claims to have over 18 million verified users. The bill still has to clear the full Senate and Assembly before heading to Governor Gavin Newsom's desk. Christina Corona, NTD News.
We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce sued the FTC today, saying the FTC is overstepping its authority by banning non-compete agreements in the workforce. An economist gives us his take. A large alligator wandered onto a military base in Florida. How was a toothy visitor removed? A former college football star reclaims his trophy after giving it up years ago. We'll take a closer look at what changed. Those stories and more coming up on NTD Tonight. Welcome back to NTD Tonight. I'm your host, David Zhang. The Federal Trade Commission is getting sued by the Chamber of Commerce and several business groups over banning non-compete agreements. They usually prevent a person from working for a competitor or opening a business in the same industry after leaving a job. The FTC calls these agreements unfair, but some say the contracts protect trade secrets and encourage competitiveness. For insight, NTD's David Lam spoke with Vance Ginn, president of Ginn Economic Consulting. Ginn also served as the chief economist for the White House Office of Management and Budget.
Vance, great to see you again, and thank you for joining us. Now tell us, with the FTC banning non-compete agreements, what's the impact on the job market?
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you, and I think that this will have a big impact on the job market. There's a lot of businesses out there where they negotiate these agreements, these work agreements with the worker to not share information or not have the same customers or clients after they leave. That's kind of this non-compete agreements that they sign. And there are many of these across many sectors of the economy, including a lot of those that are new innovations, technology firms, manufacturing firms, those types. And it's really across many sectors of the economy. And so this will have a big influence on the workforce and the future of work. And I really think at the end of the day that this should be overturned. There's a lawsuit now out by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce saying, look, this is going against the freedom of voluntary association and voluntary negotiations. This is not something that the FTC and government should get involved with. We should let people negotiate these decisions versus governments.
Now, Vance, under these non-compete agreements, how long did employees typically have to wait after they quit their job before moving to a new company in the same industry?
Well, it depends on the agreement that they sign. Sometimes it could be 6 months. Sometimes it could be a year. Other times these non-compete agreements can be more than a year. And so that can put some strain on individuals whenever they go and try to find another job. However, they usually get paid more when they have a non-compete agreement because as they go into these negotiations, you can either get a job that doesn't have a non-compete agreement or you take a job that has one. You're going to want a higher pay or more benefits or other things to compensate you for that. So you know going in to that agreement and going and taking that job that you will have that limitation as you leave the job.
Now, moving forward, if businesses aren't allowed to have these specialized contracts, how would they ensure that their trade secrets won't be revealed to other companies from their former employees?
Well, I think that's a great question, and I think it's one that a lot of these employers are going to look at and say, do we really want to hire as many workers if we're going to have to be concerned about trade secrets, other things being released, or clients and things of that nature being released, because that will reduce their profitability over time. What we want really is a more competitive labor market, not one that is going to be based on what's the next rule put in place by the FTC, by the Biden administration, or even by states. We should be unleashing people to allow for them to negotiate whatever the agreements are going to be. And if you don't want to be in a non-compete agreement, you can go to a different job. And so I think that's really where this comes into this friction that's going on in the labor market, that the Biden administration, the FTC, and Lena Khan, who chairs the FTC, is really trying to involve themselves more in the private negotiations that take place, which are going to be a huge cost to workers across the country. And so I think this is going to hurt not only employment, but wages and fringe benefits for the future. This should really be something that's done with voluntary transactions.
Vance Ginn, president of the Ginn Economic Consulting, thank you so much for your insight on this new rule from the FTC.
Thank you. Have a good day.
A large alligator caused a bit of a ruckus after wandering onto a Florida Air Force base. After fighting with fish and wildlife personnel, the gator was subdued and transferred to a nearby river. NTD's Jason Blair has more.
A photo posted by MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida, shows the giant alligator relaxing under an aerial refueling plane. Officers from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission were called in, but the intruder wasn't going to cooperate easily. A video shows a cautious standoff and some thrashing while the officers wrangled the gator. Eventually, the large reptile was subdued. The base posted on Facebook, quote, "Our newest toothy airman has been relocated to a more suitable environment off base." The base said that experts believe the alligator was pushed away from home by an even larger alligator in the area named Elvis. Jason Blair, NTD News.
Now turning to sports news. Reggie Bush, the former USC star, is back in the spotlight after reclaiming his Heisman Trophy. NTD's Carlos Reyes has the details.
In a game-changing twist, Reggie Bush, the football star known for his unstoppable running on the field, has reclaimed his place in college football history. The Heisman Trust recently announced the restoration of Bush's 2005 Heisman Trophy, a remarkable comeback after he surrendered it in 2010 due to NCAA violations during his time at USC. Bush's journey back to this pinnacle of collegiate football has been long and frustrating. It's a story marked by legal battles and a shifting landscape in collegiate athletics. Yet through it all, Bush's fans never questioned his undeniable talent and impact on the game. During his collegiate career, Bush was nothing short of sensational. Averaging an incredible 8.5 yards per touch from scrimmage, he left defenders grasping at air as he blazed his way to 1,740 rushing yards in the 2005 season alone. His remarkable versatility saw him account for a staggering 42 career touchdowns over 3 seasons, 25 of those coming on the ground, 13 receiving, and 4 on special teams returns. Bush was selected number 2 overall in the 2006 NFL Draft, and only one tailback has been picked that high in the draft since, Saquon Barkley in 2018. But alongside the accolades came controversy. Bush's decision to forfeit his Heisman Trophy stemmed from NCAA sanctions against USC, which found him guilty of receiving improper benefits during his time with the Trojans. These sanctions included vacating the 2004 national title and stripping USC of victories in 14 games that Bush played. Now, the world of college athletics undergoes constant changes, with rules allowing student-athlete compensation becoming the new norm. So the Heisman Trust has deemed it fitting to return Bush's trophy. For Bush, this reinstatement is a moment of redemption and validation. Football fans say it's a testament not only to his individual achievements, but also the enduring legacy of USC football. Carlos Reyes, NTD News.
Has the world forgotten October 7th, Israel's 9/11? Kelly Wright traveled to Israel to speak to survivors and hostage family members. They vow to never forget as they combat anti-Semitism and fight for freedom. Here's a preview.
On October 7, 2023, the radical Islamic terror group Hamas entered into Israel from Gaza, carrying out a vicious surprise attack. It was the worst attack on Jewish people since the Holocaust.
we understood what the Hamas was trying to do. Besides killing everyone, they tried to break us as a nation, as peoples, as Jews.
As Israel strikes back to defend itself, it's blamed entirely for the humanitarian crisis that's unfolding in Gaza. A barrage of pro-Palestinian marches call for the destruction of Israel and America, its strongest ally.
Move to Israel! And move to Africa!
A missile strike from Iran and the threat of more attacks from other emboldened enemies. Has the world forgotten October 7th, Israel's 9/11? Kelly Wright traveled to Israel to speak to survivors, hostage family members, and to leaders who vowed to combat anti-Semitism and fight for freedom. Watch Hope for Israel, an NTD Primetime Special, Friday, April 26th at 10 p.m. on NTD.
Watch Hope for Israel, an NTD News Primetime Special, April 26, Friday at 10 p.m. on NTD TV. Stay tuned for China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer coming up next. President Biden inking TikTok divestment bill into law. Will the app sever ties with its Chinese parent or risk being ousted from U.S. app stores? More details coming tonight on China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer. And that's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on NTD Tonight every weekday at 9 p.m. I'm David Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.